4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to the Production Room Podcast. We're coming to you here from the third floor of the Dixie Center for the Arts in beautiful downtown Ruston. The Dixie Center's been around since 1928, bringing the finest entertainment to North Louisiana. And we're glad to have you on board here with the podcast this morning as part of that entertainment. The Production Room Podcast is a program of the Dixie Center for the Arts. So we're excited to be doing this here, and all the way from the great country of Canada, we've got a special guest with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Dane Von Hagen. Hello, Dane.
Hey, how you doing, pal?
Good. We are so glad to have you here on the podcast this morning. So I know you've been around Ruston for a little while.
Yes, sir.
Been playing some places here and there. Tell us a little bit about Dane. Tell us why Ruston from Canada?
Well, that's a beautiful question, and the easiest way to answer that one would be, if you take Ruston, you just flip it upside down and say it backwards, you end up with not sure. So that was me coming down here. I came down for a wedding. Some family friends of mine were up in Canada previously in the year and decided to get married and invited us down to come experience their Holy Communion. So I came down just at the end of October, and I was going to stay for a week. And it's really a God of coincidence, the fact that I ended up staying. A bunch of crazy things did happen, but I essentially damaged my passport and was unable to return to the country until the Canadian Passport Services had renewed my passport, so my international travel documentation was missing. So at that point, I really had to just surrender to Ruston, Louisiana. So my 1 week trip turned into kind of a surrender experience. I was given a place to stay for a few months off the bat, and that was amazing. And it just grew from there. I'd go out on the weekends and meet other musicians and stuff, and now I just spend all day every day with some of the most amazing people, and it's odd because prior to coming here I was praying for inner peace, and I think maybe my own will was in the way of that, and
right.
So this whole process really, I find at the end of it, my prayers were answered in the oddest way, because I just feel this deep sense of contentment and peace in my life today. And I think that's something I learned here in Ruston, because you guys are very heart-centered. So long story short, is a force of circumstance that ended up being the answer to my prayers. So I'm just happy to be here today.
Well, good. And I guess when you came to Ruston, you must have brought a guitar with you.
Yeah, I sure did. I always travel with a little Yamaha I've got. And me and that Yamaha have done a lot together. We've been through all kinds of highs and lows. It's my only friend at times. Sleeping in God knows where, just living this life. And it hasn't always been pretty for me. So that guitar has been like my home in a sense. And I brought that down here with me. And I started playing with some local musicians.
Tell us about them. Who have you been playing? I think I know all of them.
Yeah. So this is actually a funny story. So initially when I needed a place to stay, I was staying at the estate of someone who had passed, and everyone in the family involved with the estate, I guess, wasn't fully aware. And so I was out doing yard work on the estate, and one of the family members drove by and was like, "Who's that kid cleaning my yard? Grandma's yard." And so we got introduced, and he said, "Hey, I know a musician in town that you really need to meet." And so we organized a lunch with Mr. Monty Russell. And that was the beginning of being introduced to people like Trey Gotro, Bo Smith, Bo Atkins, Big Poe, all kinds of amazing artists. And that's just to say a few. There's a bunch of college kids that are very talented.
Right.
We've got Parker Newman, and who really, not only have become great musician friends, but actually just full-heartedly believe, lifelong friends, people that I align with very much so.
Mm-hmm. So I first became acquainted with Dane, of all places, at the Ruston Farmers Market. You were playing up there during market one day, and I'm like, this fella's got something. We need to get him on the podcast. But something came up, and you had to run back to Canada for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're back.
That's right. I'm back now, and just getting ready to, really, I think, to make a life here. Where I grew up in Canada is very similar to Ruston, and there's only just one difference, and I think you guys are a lot more faith-based. So I feel right at home.
I would add at this point the weather's just a little different in the wintertime.
Absolutely. That is one major selling point that I seem to have left out.
So I guess music's been a part of your life for quite a while. Tell us about the early days. What got you interested in music?
Well, when I was 11 years old, I was unaware that, of what an instrument was per se, not in a musical family. But there was a guitar in the closet, and my dad had some of his high school buddies over. They were doing, a bit of a reunion or just getting together with the old friends. And so, of course, they remembered my dad, playing his old guitar, but he never played it around me when I was a kid. And so he went and got this black box out of the closet, and I remember everything in my world stopped when I saw that box. I was like, I didn't know that was in our house. What kind of toy is that? As a little kid. And he pulled out the guitar, and the second that he started playing it, everyone in the room just, everything changed in the room, the whole energy, the whole dynamic. I think that was the first time I got the taste of, the power of music and just that I got that feeling, and I remember thinking, he was playing Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive, and I remember thinking, I want to be able to do that. That.
Yeah.
And so that really began my obsession. And
so did Dad teach you, or?
So we made a deal. For every $1 I saved in the piggy bank, he put $2 in until we had enough to buy a guitar.
So that's interesting, and I've shared this story on the podcast before. When I was playing, I had a $25 Stella guitar, was my first one. And my mom saw I wasn't going to quit playing guitar, and she made a deal with me that if I'd save my money, she would pay for half of any guitar I wanted. And she did not know what she was getting herself into, at the time. And this was 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I saved up $400, which was a lot of money.
Wow. Yeah.
And we got a top-of-the-line Alvarez, and I played it for years and years. So, yeah, I love it when parents give their kids incentive to, to be a part of the purchase process and, give them ownership in their instruments.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a really good display of, I learned a valuable lesson, in that process, that if I put, something towards something I'm passionate about, that other people will support me, and that's been proven time and time again through, the last 17 years since I picked up a guitar. The second that I'm just true to myself and put all my effort into something, twofold, I'll get back with it. Right.
Right.
So that's a very valuable lesson. And then me and Pops, he's like, hey, if you can learn this beginner guitar book front to back, and sit down and play it front to back for me, I'll pay for you to take guitar lessons. So then I met with a Cuban fella named Alfredo, and he taught me classical guitar from 11 to 16 years old. And that was, obviously the most formative part of my musicianship. And I learned so much, and he was like, a big brother to me, and really just took me under his arm. At the end of our lessons, he wasn't even charging me. He just liked hanging out with me,
That's cool.
And then at 16, in high school, I was playing all these pretty little finger picking things, and someone walks in with an electric guitar and does an AC/DC riff. And everyone in the room looks at the AC/DC guy, and I remember thinking, man, that looks really easy and it sounds cool. So that began my blues and rock and roll escapade, which I'm just on the tail end of.
So tell us, who were some of your early influences as far as your taste in music goes today?
Yeah. So I remember the first two albums I bought. One was Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters. It was a collection of the formative blues songs. And so I think I had like 30 songs on it. And it was just all those old blues guys. And then I got a Stevie Ray Vaughan record at the same time. I remember I was like on a hockey tournament because in Canada we all play hockey. So I was like, 12, 13 years old. We were at Walmart and all my buddies are going to look at whatever they're going to look at, video games or something. And I went to the music section and I got a Stevie Ray Vaughan record, and then it was Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, all those fellas, blues. And I remember I had a red stereo that I got for Christmas. And I couldn't listen to it loud because I'd wake up everyone in the house. And this is before iPads and iPods and all that. But I put the CD player right next to my bed, and I had volume on 2, and I put the CD on repeat, and I'd listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan all night while I slept because I thought, man, those riffs are tough. I better just ingrain them in my head.
So you were listening to pretty much the epitome of blues, and yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and that began. I wanted to be a blues man, and that was really, I think, no matter what I do, at the end of the day, I always, it's if I'm playing country, it's blues based. If I'm playing rock, it's blues based. That's the heart and soul of everything I do. Yeah,
that's cool. I'm pretty much the same way. I'm a blues man at heart.
Yeah, I know. You just can't. I think in the world of musicianship, truth is what we're really after, and when you listen to blues, you know that they're being honest.
So are there any musicians today that's really inspiring you?
Absolutely. So from 2000 to 2014, I really didn't see a place for me in any form of popular music, which was concerning, being that I was my late teens, early 20s, when I should have been, building something. And so I just was like, oh, maybe I'll just be a niche guy, And then in the last 10 years, there's been artists, it even goes back to, I hate to say it, but when Justin Bieber cut a couple of his acoustic songs, and these pop artists started to go more of a direction of this creamy guitar tone and these meaningful lyrics. Ed Sheeran came in, and now today, if you look at pop country top charts, you have some real heartfelt, honest artists such as Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, and so it's been really exciting for me, and a huge part of my transition from the rock and roll bands that I played in Canada to these last couple of years as I formed this more Americana, authentic, genuine form of songwriting.
Right. It's and I feel exactly what you're saying. It's like there's not a genre out there for you. Mm-hmm. You can't turn on the radio, the FM radio, and listen to
one genre,
the sound you want. So yeah, I feel that very much. So think back, all the musicians you've worked with over the year. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten from anybody?
That's a really good one. Well, there's a couple, some more on the humorous side, and then there's some that are a little bit more on the heart and soul side. But the best advice I got as a musician on the humorous side was, what's the next step in my music career? I asked the producer, and he said, find a good woman with a government job with great benefits. So that one I always held on to and remembered. And actually, about 5 years later, he married a nurse, that producer. And so his plan's going to boot. But for me, I think the best advice that I ever got was get comfortable with failing, and basically the first step to getting good at anything is accepting that you suck at it and being comfortable with not being good at it. A lot of people in this day and age expect instant gratification, and music isn't something that is gonna just, well, I shouldn't say that. For me personally, music wasn't something that just happened. I had to just know that it's what I wanted and take the time and energy to love myself enough to go through all the process of every wrong note, every mistake. I've made every mistake there is in the book, and probably more to make. So it's, I think without that advice, I would have given up. Yeah.
So if you had a young musician in front of you today and they wanted your advice on performing, on touring, on writing, if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be? The wisdom of Dane.
The wisdom of Dane. Trust your gut. Listen to what you're feeling, not what you think you need to be doing, what people say you should be doing. There's a certain, music is an ethereal thing. It's like in the air, and so when things are right, you can feel it. And it's as simple as if you're like going to pick out a guitar, don't research all the science behind the guitar. It's like go in a room with guitars and just feel. What does it feel like? And when it feels right, you just have to trust it and go with it. For example, this last weekend we were looking at some guitar amps and stuff, and there was a moment when all of a sudden it was everyone in the room, you could just feel it in the air. And so stay sensitive and stay open to where your musical career is guiding you, and know that there's so much more out there for you as a musician than you could ever comprehend. And don't be disappointed if you get rejected or seem to go in the wrong direction, because that's just leading you to where you need to be as a musician. So I'd say just really, really focus on the feel, on just if something feels right, trust that. And it might just be something that's leading you to the next right thing. It might not be what it is. So that's what I've learned. I've had the most success in my music career when I get out of my head and into my heart.
Awesome. So we've talked about a little bit about Dane the performer. Tell me about Dane the songwriter.
Ooh, all right. That's an interesting process. And of course, it's been a process. For me, I tend to write the point that's made to me by other writers and artists from their point of view is the honesty in my lyrics. I'm not afraid to say exactly what is going on or what's going on. And, I've had a few people say, I didn't know you could say that in a song, it's almost too personal, right? But that's what people want to hear. It's not all trucks and beer and good looking girls like you hear in a lot of songs. At the end of the day, we're human, and if you can connect with somebody. So as a writer, it really has evolved. I started out writing by myself, then I started writing with other musicians of my caliber, then I wrote with then I started writing with musicians that had a lot of success, and now today when I sit down to write a song, it's not with any expectation. It's more like therapy or journaling, and I just try to be consistent with it. And if there's something that is supposed to stick around, it will. I leave it. I don't try so much as I just want to be consistent. So I'm not trying to write a hit song anymore or anything. I'm just writing what I feel, and that's when I seem to get the most out of it.
You're going to be performing a song for us here in just a little bit. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we fixing to listen to?
Well, I think I was chatting with my partner this morning over breakfast about what we should sing, what I should sing, and I decided on a song called Small Town, which I wrote kind of right when I was about to start making some big drastic changes in my life. I'd been living in the town I was born and raised in for 25 years. And I knew it was time to go, but I didn't know where or what or how. And so I wrote this song called Small Town. And ever since I wrote that song, things have been drastically different for me. It's almost like the grieving process was encapsulated then and there, and I could move forward after I was done that song. Yeah.
Awesome. What's next for Dane?
Right now, I'm going up to Canada. My sister's got a baby. I got my second niece ever. and so I'm extraordinarily excited. Her name is Estelle. I'm going to go up there, reconnect with some family, and I live in a beautiful tourist area of the Canadian Rocky Mountains. So I'm very excited to go. It's an artsy, outdoorsy place, and I'm really connected, I feel, with nature. So I'm just going to go get centered, work out a couple things, and the goal is to return here with a visa in order to write, record, and perform, because there's a lot of opportunity here. Not only opportunity, but things that align with me internally. So I'm very, very excited for this next step.
Okay. Folks, I'm going to have Dane's contact information. It'll be on the screen. Just reach out to him. We'll have that information available to you. We're fixing to get set up here in the studio, and we will have Dane Von Hagen performing Small Town.
Hello, my name is Dane Von Hagen. This is my original song called Small Town. I grew up in a small town, had a heartbroken father, he never was around. Grew up tough and I grew up mean, low. Sisters and my mother meant the world to me in that small town. In that small town. In that small town. In that small town. Lord, I lost control a couple thousand times. In a small town, you gotta learn to drink and drive. Now I don't care what the hell you say to me, and I feel like booze cruising in the prairies in that small town. In that small town. In that small town. In that small town. Better or worse, I don't care if it hurts. I wanna leave for a while. Load me up in a hearse, put me down in the dirt, drive too many miles. In that small town. In that small town. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Yeah. Yeah. Well, she broke my heart. Now my bags are packed. Don't give a damn. I ain't ever going back. The thing I know from the things I've seen is the people that stay won't ever leave that small town. That small town. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I grew up in a small town, had a heartbroken father, he never was around. Grew up tough and I grew up mean, low. My sisters and my mother meant the world to me.
Well, folks, that was Dane Von Hagen in Small Town. I hope you enjoyed that performance, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Production Room Podcast. I do want to give a quick shout out to Origin Bank, who is the sponsor for this podcast. Thank you for everything you do for our community. It's great to see an organization like Origin Bank with their hands all over the place. You see their thumbprints on just about everything in Ruston, and that's a good thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a lot happening at the Dixie just now. Ruston Community Theater is in-house this week with their production of Steel Magnolias, and we're hoping to have an announcement soon of the new Dixie season that should be opening real soon. We've got some great acts lined up, some fabulous concerts. I know you're going to want to be a part of it, and I am just chomping at the bit, honestly, to tell you some of the acts we've got coming to Ruston this time, and I can't do it yet. I can't tell you, but trust me when I say it's going to be an amazing season. So stand by for that. We'll have that information out soon. Dane's information is here on the screen again. Again, thank you, Dane, for being with us today. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Tom Faber, your host, and we'll see you later. Thank you for tuning in to the Production Room Podcast, coming to you from the Dixie Center in beautiful downtown Ruston, Louisiana. For questions, comments, or just to say hey, you can email us at productionroompodcast@gmail.com. The views expressed by our guests and host may not necessarily be those of the Dixie Center for the Arts. The Dixie Center for the Arts is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation whose goal is to be the heart and the home for the arts in North Louisiana. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and tune in again next time to the Production Room Podcast.